My sister's husband severely injured their newborn baby, and I'm the only one who can't forgive him. My sister's husband and my sister have been married for 7 years. They have one child that is 3 and another that is 9 months. Myself and my partner and my child, 4-year-old, have been very close with them up until this incident. About 6 months ago, I got a frantic call from my sister that the baby had a broken arm and was in the hospital. This happened when my sister was otherwise occupied with her older child under the watch of the brother-in-law. His story at the time was that the baby had his arm wrapped in a blanket wrong and he lifted him up too quickly, snapping his arm just below the shoulder. Ugh. I told my sister that sounded wrong and she should press him to tell the truth. I assumed at the time that my brother-in-law was panicking and covering up for dropping him or something like that. The next day, everyone found out everything due to findings on the x-rays and CT scans. My father called me because my sister couldn't speak. I vomited and was filled with rage I have never felt before in my life. There were 3 broken bones. The arm being the most recent, a rib, and his leg. This man was hitting, squeezing, and shaking this tiny, helpless baby and hiding it successfully until he couldn't anymore. Obviously, the authorities got involved and cleared my sister of any wrongdoing. Apparently, the first injuries went unnoticed because of the baby's lack of mobility, and any discomfort from them would have been minimal and was just seen as normal baby fussing. I believe my sister didn't know until the arm broke. Her initial response was normal. She was angry, heartbroken, and in complete shock. This brings us to now. The baby has healed completely and is thriving. The authorities have delivered justice in the form of parole and therapy. No jail time at all. Everyone except me and my partner have seemed to move on from their anger and outrage. The piece of shit brother-in-law gets CPS supervised visitation with the kids, and my sister has been seeing him on her own. They go on dates and she is taking him to a family wedding this summer. She told me she's not seeking a divorce and she understands that he has mental issues and this is the reason for what he did. Oh gosh, I'm disgusted. I'm judging her and him very harshly. I physically shake with anger when I hear his name even mentioned. I don't care that he was stressed, overwhelmed, and depressed. While I relate to those feelings as most parents probably do, I cannot forgive him for his actions. He could have put him in the crib and walked away. He could have sought counseling when his feelings started to become unmanageable. He could have done anything else but what he did. 3 separate known times. Who knows what didn't leave a mark for the x-rays to see. I will not be attending the wedding this summer, and I told my sister explicitly that no one from my household will ever be in his presence again. I help her with babysitting and our kids have play dates, but I have otherwise checked out on her emotionally. I don't want to talk to her about what's going on with her and how she is feeling, and I'm sure she has felt me pull away. I feel guilty, angry, and defeated for this. I love my sister and my niece and nephew, and I did at one point accept my brother-in-law as a brother. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. How and when do you forgive someone for something like this? I don't think I can.
This is from True Off My Chest, and it is titled, My Wedding Was Ruined. I've debated about posting this, but I have to rant to someone. Me, 23 female, and my now husband, Josh, 26 male, had our wedding last week. At first, everything was beautiful. I got married to my high school sweetheart and was so happy. It felt like my fairy tale come true. I felt like a princess. While I'm taking photos with my bridesmaids, I see Josh's cousin, Nicole, with a girl, I'll call her Sarah, I'm unfamiliar with. She seems non-talkative, but is friendly to me at first. We finish our photos and go inside to relax and chat before I walk down the aisle. A long while later, after the vows were exchanged, I bump into Sarah while on my way to the food table. She's clearly intoxicated, but through her slurred speaking, I could hear her ranting about how crowded the venue was, but then it escalates. I was getting food for my mom when she said to me that she's surprised Josh married someone like me, because Josh could do better than me. I tried to laugh it off and I told her I was very lucky to have him. The interaction left me feeling upset, but I brushed it off as her just being drunk, and I started drinking too and soon forgot about it. Time goes past and I'm feeling good. Me and my husband, along with all of my guests, were dancing. Suddenly, I hear a crashing sound near the food table and all of us rush over to see what was happening. I see Sarah on the ground sobbing hysterically, and Nicole was trying to calm her down. She had completely smashed my wedding cake and ripped the decorations. My heart was broken to see my wedding cake completely destroyed, but I tried to ask what was wrong, and Sarah started screaming and cursing me. I was confused and drunk, so I started shouting back and ordered my husband to kick her out. He didn't want to and told me she should be allowed to stay since she was a friend. I argued with him and told him that she's ruined my wedding. It eventually took my husband and Nicole to get her under control and convince her to go home. Nicole left with Sarah, and when my husband came back, he looked angry angry with me. He completely blew me off for the rest of the night, and I could tell the atmosphere was now awkward for all of my guests. The next day, my husband lectured me about how I hurt Sarah's feelings and demanded I apologize to her. We argued, and he slept on the couch. Things eventually cooled down, so I tried to talk to him about it the following days, but he shut me down and just told me I was being overly dramatic about the situation. You've never even seen Sarah until my wedding. I have no clue why she would lash out like that. I'm hurt that my husband doesn't see my perspective. Even though she was drunk, she ruined my special day, and now I can't think of the happy memories I have because I can only think of that incident. Sorry for the long read. Thanks for listening. Here is the update. Firstly, I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. I know this update isn't going to be very shocking, but I at least want to explain myself a bit better. I started thinking and taking everyone's replies into consideration and called Nicole. I demanded she tell me the truth, and she eventually did. You all were right. Sarah and Josh were a thing. Yes, he cheated on me. There's more. For some backstory, me and Josh have known each other since elementary school. We grew up together and started dating freshman year of high school. He was my first everything. I've never loved someone the way I love him. I didn't want to believe Nicole when she confirmed my suspicions. When she told me he cheated on me, my heart sank and I haven't stopped feeling nauseous. I'm completely devastated. Now, how could I be so foolish? How couldn't I see what was laid out right in front of me? Is this even real? Well, Sarah went to a different high school than me and Josh. Nicole introduced Sarah and Josh. Nicole knew he was taken, but she's never liked me because I'm mixed. Oh, that. He dated Sarah while he was dating me all through high school. Okay, so it is an old flame thing, but it's a cheating old flame thing. When we graduated, he ended things with Sarah. He wasn't currently cheating on me, but Sarah was still angry that Josh ghosted her, so she took it out on me. Nicole brought her to the wedding, knowing Sarah wanted some type of revenge. I didn't want to believe that the love of my life, my whole world, the person I cherished the most, could do this to me. He cheated on me for 4 whole years, and I was completely oblivious. I don't want to lose him, but I can't look at him the same. He's always been so sweet, so caring of me, so loving. He has no clue that I know, and I'm not sure how to bring it up with him. I wish this wasn't real. I wish I could wake up from this terrible nightmare. When I confront him, I'll update if anything important happens. And for anyone that's been kind to me, thank you so much. I wouldn't wish this upon anyone. Okay, update number 2. I want to start off by clarifying a few things. People keep asking how he was loving and caring if he did this to you. He brings me flowers every week. He brings me lunch to my work. He cooks for me. He takes me on a fancy date once a month. He takes care of my mother. He offers to pay for everything. He always tells me how much he loves me, and he used to make me feel so safe. I would have never married him if I knew he would put me through all of this. I know this story is hard to believe, but it's not just a story. This is my life. Also, turns out the cheating was actually going on for closer to 6 years. Yes, she was the only girl he cheated with. I am upset that Sarah destroyed my marriage, but I know it's ultimately Josh's fault. Anyways, Josh gets off work at 10 p.m., so I stayed up late to talk to him. I made Nicole promise me not to tell him I know, and shockingly, she stayed true to her promise. He came through the door and I called him to sit with me while I was at the kitchen table. I told him I knew everything. At first I was shouting and ranting to him, but then it turned into me begging him to prove to me that it wasn't true. Of course it was true, and after a while he confessed to everything. Hearing it from him made it all too real. He tried to argue that since it was in high school, it shouldn't affect me that much, and that it was a stupid mistake. Yeah, a stupid mistake he let go on for over 5 years. I know we were young, but he knew better. He begged me to stay and told me how sorry he was for everything he's put me through. I told him how much I love him, but I can't stay with him. I asked him why he defended her over me, and he said he didn't want to upset her because he knew how psycho she can be. I know he still loves her, or at least cares about her, because why would he still defend her years later? I can't just cut him out of my life. The house we live in and my car is all in his name. Shit. Not only have I lost my husband, but I've lost my whole life. After I made it clear to him that I was leaving, he got angry and we started arguing. He tried to say at least he wasn't still cheating, but I don't care. It still hurts the same. I called my mom and told her everything, so she's letting me stay with her for now. Since I live in Pennsylvania, I have 60 days to get my marriage annulled, which I plan to do. Josh keeps trying to call me, but I'm not answering it. He showed me what love is, but now he's ruined love for me. I can't see myself ever dating and trusting someone like this again. Not only was my wedding destroyed, but my whole life is now destroyed. I have no car, no house. He has full access to my bank account, and I'm sure he'll fight to keep the dogs. If anyone wants an update on when I go get my stuff, I'll give one. None of his family apart from Nicole know that he cheated or anything about what's going on. I loved his parents and they loved me too. His dad took me in after I lost mine. As for Nicole and Sarah, they've tried to contact me, but I haven't replied. Please let me be clear when I say that when you're so blindly in love, you never consider the one person you love and trust the most in the world to be cheating on you. My lawyer said he has to give me everything I paid for, and I should get my bank information changed as soon as possible. My lawyer also said getting my marriage annulled would be the best option. If I can prove my car has been paid by me, then he has to give it to me. But right now, there's nothing I can do about my car or house since it's legally all in his name. My lawyer is fighting for me, though. I'm praying that Josh will give me the dog. Lastly, thank you again to anyone who's been kind to me throughout this. I hate reading comments because most are negative and it keeps me thinking about this whole situation. I appreciate any of you who've supported me and given me advice more than you know. It's really helped me through this disaster, and without you guys talking some sense into me, I think I would have just stayed with him. Now I know he isn't the man I thought I married, and I don't want him to be the father of my children anymore. I'm not sure if I'll update again. I might if something interesting happens. All right, let's jump in. Update number 3, final update question mark. Sorry for the inactivity. I haven't been feeling too well, but I'm a bit better now. I'm glad some of you wanted an update because I have no one to tell. At first, Josh tried to keep my things in an effort to persuade me to get back with him. He stopped after a day or two, though. The great news is I got my car and my ex-husband gave me my dog without me having to take him to court. I could have gotten it anyway, but him just giving it over made things a lot easier for me. My bank information was changed and he didn't try to take any of my money. I've still lost my home, but there's nothing I can do about that at the moment. My lawyer has worked so hard for me and I'm grateful to him. I had a calmer conversation with my ex when I was over to get my stuff, and I've gotten a bit of closure. We talked about all of our memories and had our final conversation. So glad she just said conversation. After she said we talked about all of our memories and we had our final, apologized for everything, said he understood why I was leaving him, and told me if I wanted him to leave me alone, he would. My marriage was annulled, but I'm kind of devastated that it's like it never happened now. The reason why Sarah and Nicole were calling me is because they tried to tell me I'm ruining his reputation and being a drama queen about something that happened years ago. I've blocked both of them now. Every time someone asks about why our marriage was annulled, I tell them the truth, and that's upsetting him. Well, tough shit. He doesn't like that his family and coworkers know about how much of a prick he is. I bet he doesn't. I wasn't going to tell his family because I don't think that's my place, but they know now anyway. His parents caught wind of what happened and called me to apologize and check up on me. They were like my second parents. I'm forever grateful to them for taking me in as their own. I'm truly going to miss having them as my in-laws. I'm living with my mom as of now, but I'm looking for cheap apartments nearby. I've never lived by myself, so I'm pretty scared of it. To my knowledge, my ex and Sarah didn't get back in contact, and from the looks of things, don't plan to in the future. To those asking why my things were in his name, I obviously didn't think it'd end like this. I trusted him with my life, and he made a lot more money than I did. It was better to let him handle the finances. Thankfully, he hasn't screwed me over by following through with his threats to keep my car and stuff. I know I'm only 23 and I have a lot of life left in me, but it's not feeling like that right now. I'm still in shock about everything and definitely in denial. I know I'll be okay eventually, but this has screwed my whole perspective of love up. My life has taken a full turn from what should have been the happiest moment of my life. I'm bitter. I think about what or if I could have done something different. Maybe then he wouldn't have done all of this, and I keep making excuses for him. In some type of way, I'm glad I know who he truly is now. It sickens me to think that I almost had kids with him, and he would have let me go through my whole life, keeping his cheating past a secret from me. I don't know how men like this can sleep peacefully at night after completely ruining people's lives. It's shocking how many of you have gone through something similar. I'm so sorry to those who have been through a heartache like this. It made me laugh about how you guys are trying to create revenge plans for me. I really appreciate it, but now I'm going to let everything rest. mostly because it would hurt me more if I did take revenge. I don't know about that. People have let me know his nice gestures were the bare minimum, but I've never seen anyone do things like that. My mother and father were divorced, so I've never seen love displayed like that. I thought it was something that only happened in Hallmark films. Thank you all for your kind messages and comments. I read all of them, and it's helped me throughout all of this. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thanks for everything.
I told my mother-in-law she was dead to me after she showed up in labor and delivery without my mother. For the past 3 months, it's been a very well-known plan that when I, 30 female, went into labor, my husband was going to drive me to the hospital and my mother-in-law was going to pick up my mother, my kids, and my grandmother, all from one house. Both my mother-in-law and my mom were supposed to be in the delivery room. My grandma was to watch my 2 kids in the waiting room. Everyone was in agreement with the plan. Now, my husband and I have 2 sons already, and for both births, my mother was present. She helped me through so much of the mental anguish and panic, especially after my last, whom literally almost killed me. I was bleeding out on the table, and my mom was the only one to keep me calm. I needed her to be with me with this baby too, mentally. So we worked out this plan out months in advance, and everyone was on the same page. However, I go into labor. We make the phone calls to the mother-in-law and my mom, telling my mom to be ready and that my mother-in-law will get her. An hour and 15 minutes later, my mother-in-law shows up to the hospital without my mom, my kids, or my grandmother. She said, "Well, it's late, so we just need to let everyone sleep." It was 9:30 p.m., and then sat her ass down on the chair in the delivery room and jumped on her phone. I told her in a pissed off tone to go get my mom. That was the plan. I needed my mom, etc., etc. And she just wouldn't. At one point, saying that she didn't feel up to driving that much. My mom lives 20 minutes from her house, an hour away. So, I told her to get the fuck out of the room and that she was dead to me. The amount of resentment and disgust that I felt toward her in this moment is honestly not something that I will overcome anytime soon. She was pissed, saying that my mom got to experience 2 births already and how she didn't do anything wrong and she was just being respectful of people's sleep. And that she wasn't leaving, so she was actually escorted out. My mom was able to make it to the hospital literally just as I was giving birth. My kids and my grandmother weren't able to make it, which bothers me a great deal. We promised our kids that they would be the first to meet their sister, outside of us and Grammy. I can't forgive my mother-in-law for this at all. I honestly feel like I hate her with every fiber of my being, but I'm being told that I'm taking this too far and that it wasn't that big of a deal. So, am I in the wrong?
Am I the arsehole for being upset that my sister wore a wedding dress to my wedding? Story time. So for some context, my sister Amy is a trans woman, and I have always supported through every single step of her transition. I actually met my now husband Steve through Amy. They had always been friends, and I met him 3 years ago, and we've been married for 1. And when we told our family, especially Amy, was absolutely thrilled. So everything was completely planned, and I left finding my wedding dress till the very last minute. I wanted to lose a little bit of weight, so I left it till right before the wedding to get it sorted. So from about the age of 16, me and my mum had always had the agreement that I would have her wedding dress, and it was such a key part of how I saw my wedding going. One day, all these expectations came crashing down. Me, my mum, and Amy were all sat at the dinner table one day, and I turned to my mum and asked her about the wedding dress and when I could try it on. They both suddenly went suspiciously quiet and then just completely avoided the question. Eventually, Amy turned round to me and admitted that my mum had given her her wedding dress to wear to a pride party. Needless to say, I was absolutely heartbroken. And on further inquiry, I found out that my dream wedding dress was now stuffed in the back of someone's loft, covered in rainbow paint. My mum said that she hadn't expected me to actually want the dress because I was a little bit too overweight for it, which, not gonna lie, stung a bit. After that, I just walked out and tried to be a bit of an unbothered queen, when in reality I was actually really bothered. So fast forward to my wedding day. So me and Steve decided that we were gonna have a black and white theme for our wedding, and we told all of our guests to wear either black or white. I actually decided to get a black dress because I thought, it's a little bit different. The day before my wedding, I asked Amy what she was planning on wearing. She made it very obvious that she wanted her outfit to be a secret. So the next morning, me and all my bridesmaids are getting ready and we couldn't find Amy anywhere. And she was the maid of honour, so we were freaking out. But then half an hour before the ceremony, she texted me and said that she was already at the venue waiting for me, which I thought was strange. But just as I was walking down the aisle with my dad, I saw Amy. She was at the bottom of the aisle, wearing my mum's wedding dress that was still covered in rainbow paint. I looked at Steve and Steve looked livid. My mum and dad were both absolutely mortified by Amy's behaviour and told her to never ever speak to them ever again. Now Amy is saying I'm an arsehole for not wanting to share my big day with her. So what do you think?
You had a family vacation where something so awkward happens that made you not look at your parents the same way ever again. So my dad had a business trip to Greece, right? And he takes us with him, whatever. And one of his free days, he books us like this cruise. It's like a day-long cruise, whatever. It's in Greece, and it takes you to these 3 like iconic islands in Greece, whatever. One of them you can only go around by donkey. It was pretty cool, whatever. Anyways, we've never been on boats, okay? Like maybe my parents have in the past, but like honestly, we're not boat people. We're, mountain people, whatever, okay? We get on this boat, and it's our first cruise ship, and it's like good vibes, right? We're taking pictures, whatever. We get to the first island after an hour of like, cruising. I don't know what you call it when you're on a boat, whatever. Once you get on the island, they give you like an hour to explore, and then they call you back on the boat. So they call us back, we get on the boat, and then they tell us it's lunchtime soon. So everyone find a table, sit down, get comfortable. We're gonna start sending you the menus, whatever, okay? Cool. So the waitress stops by and she's like, okay, vegetarian, seafood, chicken, or steak. And I was just like, okay, I'll get vegetarian because I play it safe when we travel, to Europe. I don't want to eat like pig meat by accident, I'm Muslim, whatever. My mom orders seafood because obviously that's like a safe option. You're not going to eat a shrimp and think it's a pig, you know what I mean? Whatever. My dad was feeling steak. My dad ordered the steak, right? So the food starts coming, whatever. I start eating, it's pasta, whatever. My mom starts eating, it's also pasta but with shrimp, whatever. And then my dad gets like a steak, right? So me and my mom look at it and we're just like, something is off. Like something just doesn't look right. I've never seen a steak look like that. My dad's looking at it and he's like, maybe this is Greek cows. He's like, maybe these cows are different. Maybe they're thicker. I don't know, like whatever. Because it looked like a meatloaf. It was thick. But he was starving, right? So he starts cutting it up and he starts eating. And, me and my mom are looking at it and we're just like, the more he's cutting into it, we're just like, yo, something is just so odd. So I called the waitress and I was like, hey, excuse me, like, does this have like, is this halal? Does this have like bacon or ham or anything? She looks at me and she's just like, no, this is steak. And I was like, no, I understand this is steak, but does it have like pork, ham, bacon? I was trying to use like whatever pig words I know. I don't know. She looks at me. She's like, no, sorry, this is steak. And I was like, no, I understand. And I was like, steak, moo, or like, I remember her like pausing for a second, staring at me and just being like, you know what I mean? Like, did this man just moo and oink at me? You know what I mean? And then looked me dead in the eye and she was like, both. Bro, I fucking died. The way my dad's face was like, he starts like spitting out whatever was in his mouth, like whatever. And then, he sits down and he's like, okay, I'll order something else. So he orders the vegetarian to really play it safe. And he waits for his food, right? The food was like going to take 10 more minutes, whatever. So while we're waiting, my dad is like processing the fact that he just ate like pig meat for the first time in his life, right? So he's just like sitting and you can tell that he's starting to sweat. And the waves were starting to go crazy because it was like, I don't know, there was a storm of brewing. I don't fucking know. Waves start going crazy, like everything starts feeling like this, you know what I mean? It's my first time on a boat, but I was handling it, I think my dad with the eating the whole, the pig thing, it didn't go so well. He starts like, this is what he's seeing, and he's like, everything is spinning, everything's spinning. I was like, blah, 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 like, what's going on? He's like, I don't feel good, like, I think the pig is like, acting up, and I was like, it's a little too soon to happen, but whatever. He's like, it's doing something in my stomach, like, like, whatever, and he was like, okay, give me 1 second, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and I was like, okay, like, sounds good, like, whatever. Me and my mom forget about my dad for a good 20 minutes, you know what I mean? Because he was giving us Debbie Downer vibes, you know what I mean? He was all like, woe is me, I ate pig by accident. We were like, we told you not to get the steak. It's whatever. After like 20 minutes, my mom just looks at me and she's like, okay, I think it's time you have to go check on your dad. I was like, why do I have to? You're the one I'm married now. But anyways, I go to the bathroom and, it's like, there's a lot of stairs in the situation, I take the, 3 flights of stairs. I go to the very bottom of the ship and I get to the bathroom. And the closer I get to the bathroom, the more I smell. You know what I mean? And it was just like, I felt claustrophobic, yachi, like I don't even know what to say. And then I finally get to the door, I opened the door and I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, all the stalls are closed except one of them is like slightly open. I got close to it and I was about to say like, Baba, like call my dad. And then I just got close enough to the door and I was like, oh no, I fucking can't. Like, I actually can't. It smells foul inside. I run to my mom upstairs. I ditch him. I was like, fuck this, I can't. I run to my mom upstairs and I was like, Mama, I can't. She was like, why? I was like, Mama, I didn't even see it, but I smelled it. I was like, I can't. Like, it smells so foul. I can't go inside, whatever. Mind you, I was like maybe 12, by the way, okay? Like, let me be. Obviously, today I wouldn't do all of this, okay? Let me be. Me and my mom go back and forth like this for like a good 10 minutes, and eventually my mom gets, her angry voice on. She's, go downstairs right now. And I was like, look how they're like, fine, whatever. So I run back downstairs and whatever. I literally go like this because I actually fucking can't. I open the door and my dad's just sitting like next to the toilet like this, and he's like, and I just remember that moment so vividly. I looked at him and I was like, I can't look at you the same anymore. I can't. I smelled the scene. I saw it was too much. I get closer to him like this, and I'm like, Bob, are you okay? And he's like, put that down. What are you doing? Like, are you trying to embarrass me even more? And I was like, okay, fine. I put it down. I was like, I just look at him, and he's like, yeah, Hamar, why are you trying to throw up right now? And I was like, because the smell is so aggressive. I was like, and because I started doing that, he goes, and then we're both. I couldn't handle it anymore. I ran out of the bathroom and I was like, ugh, like coughing outside, like whatever. My dad, I can hear him. He's fully like going at it in the bathroom. He actually cannot deal anymore. Like it was done. I don't think I was helpful at all. I run back to my mom and I was like, go check on your husband. This is not my problem anymore. I actually can't do this anymore. My mom looks at me and she's like, what happened? I was like, your husband tried to kill me. Mom finally understands the severity of the situation. She runs downstairs with a person that works on the ship. They finally get him medication and help him and whatever. And then for the rest of the trip, every time we got onto, we only had 2 more islands, but every time we got on an island, he would literally sit right in front of the ship on one of the benches outside and just lay there like a mummy for the entirety of the trip. Honestly, it truly... Moral of the story is when you're traveling, don't take unnecessary risks. Don't take treacherous journeys.
My idiot racist neighbors and the petty revenge before we moved. We once had neighbors that from the day we moved in absolutely hated us. We never even met them, but they made our lives hell in every way they could. We had moved to that area, putting my grad school and our big life plans on hold to look after my mother-in-law. She had stage 4 cancer. So it was already a crappy reason to move, and we hated the area. Rural California in a very yeehaw kind of way, if you know what I mean. The neighbors were garbage people and just awful to us. They never did anything illegal per se, but every petty thing you can think of to make our lives shitty, they did. For example, our water hose was on their lawn after I watered my roses by about 2 inches. It was coiled mostly on our side, but I wasn't done watering, and I stepped in the house for a few minutes for a lunch break. While I was inside, they cut the 2 inches off that was on their property and threw it in our yard, but left the rest of the hose that was on our side. Absurdly petty. They never even met us or spoken to us. Finally, after about 2 years of this, I was talking with my across the street neighbor about it, and she told me they were treating us this way because they thought we were illegals. I wouldn't be talking to her either, because if she knows, why the fuck didn't she come and tell y'all this beforehand? I wouldn't be talking to her either. I'm Native American and my spouse is Hispanic, but they thought we were both Mexican. I asked her why they thought we were from Mexico. She said, before we moved in, some of our forwarded mail accidentally ended up in their box, and it had, quote, your Mexican address on it. We're from New Mexico. These idiot racists thought we bought a home in an upscale neighborhood in coastal California with cash, and we came straight from Mexico to do it. So we must be part of a cartel or here illegally. That shit's fucking ridiculous. They had concocted this whole narcos scenario because my husband's last name is Lovato. It's not, but it's a similar old Hispanic last name that's widely used. We are darker than they deemed appropriate. We bought our house with cash. We had sold our starter house that we put years of backbreaking work into before renovating and made a killing on it. And they didn't know that New Mexico is a fucking U.S. state. It was all so absurd. Don't worry, the story has a happy ending though. When we moved out after my mother-in-law passed, I wrote them a long letter telling them how embarrassingly stupid they are. I'm Native, so I was sure to tell them they were the ones trespassing on my land, gained illegally by their government, and how they were giant assholes for making what was already a hard time on my husband, who's dealing with the slow death of his mother, a highly respected physician in the area. So yeah, not an illegal cartel member. An even worse time, so I hope that they were proud of themselves. Then we stole their cat. About the cat, they neglected him and left him outside covered in fleas and fending for himself day and night. Poor kitty. In the terrible heat of the summer without water and in the freezing cold of winter without shelter. The cat had already moved in with us because we actually cared for it and we took care of his medical needs. In my book, you treat your cat like crap and you didn't microchip him, he's mine. So one good thing came from our time there, and he's napping on the windowsill right now. We named him Flavio after Flavio Mendez Santiago, the famous Mexican cartel drug lord. Fuck racists.
Me and my mom are not close anymore. I asked y'all to talk some shit and assume anything and everything bad about me, and y'all did not come to play. A lot of people assume that me and my mom are not close and that our relationship is fake, but the real tea is that is my bitch for life, that I'm mean. That is all I got was you're a bitch, you're mean as hell in real life, you're mean. My demeanor is really bad in public. You're gay because your mother's gay. A lot of people do not know that my mom did not bring any girls around me until I was old enough to understand what gay was, but it was proven that I was a little spicy when I was a child by my search history. You seem like a genuine person, but you have horrible anxiety, like social anxiety, which is low-key true, but not true. I have no childhood trauma. Low-key false, but low-key true. To this day, I'm still trying to figure out why I am the way I am. So I have it, I just haven't unlocked it. I'm a spoiled brat, which is true. I just know what I deserve. My mom knows what I deserve. I'm also gonna see SZA tonight. We is going out tonight. I just think it's so crazy how people have so many assumptions about you. Love you, girls.